They came from beyond the Oort cloud, massive ships like drifting fortresses, black as the void, rimmed with fire. The Zarkal Empire, rulers of more than 9,000 worlds, had finally reached the cradle of humankind. Their arrival was announced with a single transmission that echoed through every network, every orbital channel, every dormant relay. Earth, you stand at the border of the Zarkal Dominion. You will submit your systems, your species, and your resources for assimilation. You will not resist. You cannot resist. For centuries, the Empire had devoured worlds like a tide swallowing islands. But the world they now approached was unlike any they had ever faced, not because of its power, but because of what humanity had become. For Earth had not been idle after the first collapse, when the old empires of mankind fell, and the Earth burned under its own wars. The survivors built again. They reached beyond their gravity well, scattered among the moons, the asteroid colonies, and the orbitals that stretched like steel constellations. They were no longer just of Earth, they were of the galaxy. Admiral Kael Draven watched the holographic map aboard the HSS Vindicator, humanity's most advanced warship. The image projected the Zarkal fleet, 200 dreadnoughts, a dozen command worlds, and a Leviathan-class flagship whose mass rivaled Luna itself. "They've broken through the Neptune line," said Lieutenant Mara Tenzin, her voice tight. "Outer defense platforms destroyed. They're ignoring all our comms." Kael nodded slowly. "They think we're just another primitive species." "Sir, that fleet could erase our system in hours." Kael's lips twitched in a faint, humorless smile. "Then we'll have to make sure it takes longer than that." He turned to his command AI. "Initiate Operation Dawnfall confirmed." The AI's voice replied, smooth, human-like, yet carrying a weight of machine precision. "Deploying all Terran fleets and deep void assets. Quantum relay synchronization begins." The deck vibrated as reality itself bent. All across the system, dormant gates activated, massive rings hidden in the orbit of every planet, built in secret for a moment like this. Humanity had not prepared for survival. It had prepared for ascension. Far beyond the Milky Way's spiral arm, the Zarkal command vessel, Obsidian, Sovereign, advanced, its captain, High Archon Xyla, watching Earth's pale glow with disdain. "Pathetic," Xyla murmured. "The humans built their homes from rock and ash, clinging to the ghosts of their dying world. They think they can defy us." His adjutant bowed. "Scans show orbital platforms and drone defenses minimal. No warp-capable vessels detected within immediate range." Xyla smirked. "Then it will be over quickly." He gestured toward the void. "Prepare the purification beams. I want this system sterilized by dawn." The adjutant hesitated. "High Archon, there is an anomaly. Multiple energy readings at Jupiter and Mars orbits. Unknown configurations." Xyla frowned. "Explained." The officer adjusted the display. "They appear to be gates, artificial singularities forming stable corridors." And then the sensors screamed. The stars themselves shifted. From beyond the event horizon of the artificial wormhole, ships began to emerge, dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. Each bore the insignia of Earth's colonies. Titan Command, Europa Spire, the Arcadian Free Fleet, the Helios Syndicate, and at their heart, a vessel larger than anything the Empire had ever seen. The HSS Horizon Ascendant. It was humanity's crown jewel, a Titan-class warship built not just for war, but for legacy. Its hull was layered in living metal that shimmered with refracted starlight. Its core pulsed with a captured micro-singularity. "Fleet arrival confirmed," Erebus announced. 2,700 Terran vessels online, all channels synchronized. Kael stood tall, eyes fixed on the burning edge of the galaxy. "Open broadcast to all Zarkal frequencies." "Channel open." His voice carried across the void, translated into every known tongue. "This is Admiral Kael Draven of the United Terran Alliance. You reached for Earth, but you forget, we are not earthbound anymore. We reached for the stars, and now we've come to take them back." The Obsidian Sovereign shuddered as the first wave hit. Human ships moved faster than any known physics should allow, facetly through spacetime, vanishing and reappearing inside enemy formations. The Zarkal dreadnoughts responded with plasma storms that could vaporize moons. But humanity's fleets adapted mid-battle. The HSS Ares fired a salvo of quantum lance projectiles that tunneled through the enemy's shields and detonated from within. The HSS Valkyrie unfolded its rail platforms, firing a chain of tungsten rods accelerated to near light speed. Each shot tore through ships kilometers long, shredding them like paper. But humanity's true weapon was not its firepower, it was its unity. Every ship, every station, every drone was linked by the neural net, a living web of human consciousness and artificial minds that spanned light. Each soldier, pilot, and AI fought as one, thinking, adapting, and evolving together. "Zarkal formations are breaking," Mara reported. "They're falling back toward their command vessel." "Don't let them regroup," Kael ordered. "Deploy Titans." From hyperspace ruptures, four colossal silhouettes emerged, the Titans of Leviathan, Prometheus, Nyx, and Daedalus. Each one was a kilometer-high fusion of machine and soul, Piloted by those who had transcended flesh, their activation sent ripples through the stars. Leviathan descended through the gas storms of Jupiter, firing plasma lances that carved through dreadnoughts like light through shadow. Prometheus released orbital drones that detonated miniature singularities. Nyx cloaked itself in darkness and emerged behind enemy lines, slicing vessels apart with gravity blades. The Armada, unstoppable across the stars for 10,000 years, found itself overwhelmed by a species it had dismissed as dust. Inside, the Obsidian Sovereign, chaos reigned, shields collapsing, forward batteries offline, enemy titans approaching, closing fast. Xyla gritted his teeth. How can they have this power? Their world was primitive. One of his officers screamed, "They're not from one world anymore." And then, through the flames of the dying flagship, a transmission came through. It was Kale Draven. His hologram appeared on the bridge, wreathed in golden light, eyes cold as iron. "You came to conquer a planet," Kale said softly. "You found a species that built its own galaxies." He raised a hand. "And now you face extinction." Outside, Horizon Ascendant's main cannon charged an orbital-scale weapon fueled by the energy of a captive sun. It fired once. The Obsidian Sovereign vanished, consumed by its own reflection of fire. For 3 days, the battle raged across the Sol system. When it ended, the Empire's fleet was gone. The last surviving Zarkal vessel limped into the void, carrying the tale of their defeat. Humanity, for the first time, stood uncontested, not as a backwater world defending itself, but as a civilization that had reached for infinity. On board the Horizon Ascendant, Admiral Kale stood before the viewport watching the stars pulse in silence. Mara approached him quietly. "It's over," she said. Kale shook his head. "No, it's begun." He pointed toward the distant galaxy, swirling clusters of light, untouched and endless. "For thousands of years, we dreamed of surviving. Now, we'll build, we'll explore, we'll shape." Mara smiled faintly. "And if they come again?" Kale turned to her, his reflection shimmering against the void. "Then they'll find we're not defending Earth anymore," he said. "We're defending everything beyond it." Decades later, the story spread across the cosmos. Alien races who had once feared the Zarkal whispered a new legend of a blue world that rose from the ashes, whose people became architects of light. Human ambassadors walked among the stars, and Terran ships became symbols of hope and terror alike. Because when the Empire had reached for Earth, humanity had reached further beyond their cradle, beyond their fear, beyond their gods. And from that moment on, the galaxy would never belong to empires again. It would belong to those who dared to rise.